we got here, let's talk first about like who you are and where you're from. And you just recently moved to upstate New York, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay,
Okay,
so
so
where'd you come from?
I came from Maine.
So
I came from Maine.
you moved to the capital region in the middle of a pandemic.
Yes, literally moved here 2 weeks before the pandemic hit, like really hit, where we got shut down and everyone had to stay home, and it was a very frantic time. So 2 weeks before that, I had moved all my stuff into my apartment, and I was like, yay, I'm in the capital region. And then boom, no friends, no family, because my family lives in New York City. So I'm Charlene Holmes, by the way. I know that we're live, so we know each other a little bit, Catherine, but I'm Charlene. I have been in youth development for over a decade. So I worked at liberal arts institutions in the New England area. So I was in higher education. I worked on diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives and bringing those into fruition with the goal of, ensuring that we have safe spaces for our underrepresented groups. So I left Maine and I came to the capital region because I didn't want to live in Vermont. I was like, Maine was rural enough. I need a city. I cannot be in Vermont, even though it's so beautiful there. I just couldn't do the slow life still. So I came to the capital region and the pandemic hit. So this is really my first time getting out and meeting everyone in the area who, is of influence in terms of what, the working industry looks like here. So it's very exciting.
Yes, it is so exciting because what's really cool is like when you finally meet people who are picking up what you're putting down. You know what I mean? Like it's like, okay, we don't really have to make the leap anymore because we're all here doing awesome things. And and I'm big on like delegating. I'm big on staying in my lane. I work really hard to know what I don't know and just like embrace that, right? And find people who are like-minded and want to truly see me succeed, them succeed, and do it all together. And I think that that's like, it's all easier said than done, right? So you can talk the talk, the girl boss, the girl power, all that BS, and like, what does that actually mean? So at Palette, that's what our mission is, to actualize all that and put the action behind it and do the work and then see it all come to fruition. So it was really exciting to meet you. You came to our Shiro ceremony and Kima's business launch.
Yes, her beautiful bags. My goodness.
I know. Beautiful bags, beautiful just person. Like,
absolutely.
I really love just like helping really good people, that you're like, oh, this is an easy business concept person to get behind and support. And we all just need encouragement, no matter like at what level we're at.
I had too many tissues that night, so many good tears because of just how much love was in the room and how much support was there. And it was a very nice experience. And as a matter of fact, I had asked before I became a member of Palette, and I know we said we would talk about this at the end, but I wanted to share it. Before I became a member, I asked if I could attend an event, and my first event just happened to be the Shiro's event. And it's like, what better way to, get involved and like really want to be a part of a community when you see the support happening in real time. So from that day on, I was like, yeah, I'm ready for this. I saw, I saw your unicorn the very next day. She's so beautiful and so amazing. And I love her so much. And we sat down and we had a conversation, and it's history after that.
What's also, I mean, I was just talking about this too with somebody else that just moved to the area and just so happens to be from Louisiana, which is where I'm from. And so of course, like I find somebody from Louisiana, I'm like, oh, I gotcha. And we're going to be best friends for life. And it's all about just getting there faster, like finding the people who, are going to support you. It's a safe place and just and not just talk about it, you know? So it's like we demonstrate what it looks like to collaborate and support one another in any season of life, whether it's I'm just new to the area and I don't know anybody, I want to meet some people, or I'm about to write a book, or I'm going to, I'm going back to school, or I'm trying to change my career, or I'm negotiating something. Like we want to help you in all those things. And it's not like we want to help you to like just be in your business. It's like we want to help you get the outcome that you want. So whatever it is you're doing, we want to be part of it and help you succeed. And when you succeed, we succeed, right? Like it's better. And that's what I was telling you earlier. Like I can be on my high horse all the time talking about how great Palette is. It sometimes feels like I'm just like talking about myself, and it's not. It's so much bigger than me. Like Charlene, I would not have believed you 2 years ago if you told me that Palette would be what it is today. I would be like, you are on something, and that is crazy. And of course, the pandemic changed everything, and we, instead of pulling back, we just continued to do what we set out to do, and we just kept going. And I think that's another piece of it, another nugget of like wisdom, if you will. Like most people who fail, it's because they quit on themselves, they quit on the business. They weren't comfortable with like putting themselves out there and being in this like uncomfortable position for an extended period of time, and and they quit. So I refuse to quit. I don't know. I don't have it all. I don't have all the answers of the universe, but we are going to keep on going and along the way meeting awesome people like you. So let's get to you. I mean, that's the focus of this, is to talk about you and who you are and what you're doing and all the amazing impacts you're making in like with our children, right? Because that's one thing I wanted to. You have an education background, right? And you're having these conversations and you're taking the things that you have learned from your experience and impacting, and you're going to impact us for sure.
Yeah. So I originally did not plan this. So much like you, if someone told me 10 years ago, Charlene, you're going to be opening up your business, you're going to be doing DEI stuff, you're going to be working with young people, I would have told them, you're a liar, right? Like, but trusting the process, as social media tells us, is very important. So I had this voice, that talked to me. And I know that sounds a little crazy, but I even tell my young people, like, trust that inner voice that you hear. It's very important. And this voice, upon me graduating with my undergrad, with my bachelor's degree, was like, you need to go back and pump this information into your community. I'm originally from the Bahamas, but my family lives in New York City. So, I'm a little urban chick from the 5 boroughs. And I'm like, what? You want me to do what? But I followed the voice, and it's taken me on this journey where I've worked at like the largest nonprofits in New York City. I've worked at some very prestigious institutions in the New England area. I've, traveled the country to different conferences. I've spoken places, and it's brought me to, this point where now I am, an expert in this stuff, and I can share this information for the next generation. But the goal is to get our young people to do the same thing. Gather all of your resources. All of the information that you're getting is valuable. Take that back to your community and pump that into your community so that we can start seeing some movement, whether it's economic, whether it's social, or whether it's political. We need to see movement in our communities where people are not only, I don't want to sound cliche Martin Luther King, but like literally for the content of your character, you are afforded opportunities. And it's not just, this very polarized environment that sometimes I hate subscribing to, but we live in, And so I decided to dedicate my time to that, like dedicate my time to our young people. I didn't have anyone. I was a first gen student, so I have like a special place for my first gens. And so first gen doesn't mean like person of color. I've worked with rural students. I've worked with affluent students. I remember one time I had a young man from Vermont in my office, and I was like, did you fill out your FAFSA? And he was like, I was a dean at the time. So he's like, Dean Holmes, what is that? And I was like, oh, his parents pay cash every semester. So but he was a first gen student and he still had the same types of barriers as every other young person. And so those things I would take to administration, and we would start to create, or I want to say, the feedback sometimes fell on deaf ears. I have to be 100% transparent, because some people don't want to subscribe to that. When you say first gen or you say low income, they just want to think person of color, LGBTQ plus, and whatever they believe in their mind. They're not thinking that that means student in general, right? Student who's not a legacy, student who did not come, whose parents didn't go to college. They're the first in their family. And that transcends any demographic. So we would either create new policies, or we would provide feedback for an adjustment on current policies. And the goal was to get those policies to be equitable so that all of our students were able to persist from semester to semester with little to no resistance in thrive mode, not just survival mode. And so that's where it started to turn into, and I hope I'm not going on a rant, but I think I am because I'm a little nervous. That's where it started to turn into like trainings. I am a 4-time trained anti-racist. And what that is I have a framework of how I see this work and how we do policy analysis to ensure that we're not perpetuating the same cycles that we've seen in the system, in our systems, right? Some people, and that's triggering to some people, but it is an art, it is a theory, it is a framework, and it works if it's done properly. So I went on like a journey. First, it started, with young people, and then I started providing that feedback. I'm like the point person in organizations on like, how do we get this policy? How do we do this change? What is the system that we need to assess? And I provide that feedback, and we work in committees or, have trainings to move those initiatives forward. And that's how it got me here to Imana Borena, which is my own personal company that does that work for not only students, but professionals through professional coaching, as well as organizations. So.
Oh my God. Well, like
I went on a rant.
No, it's not a rant. It's your life. You're passionate about it. And why shouldn't you get paid for what you're passionate about, right?
Right.
Right. And what's so cool about it is, I am, in the past, I was a mentor for Saratoga Sponsor Scholar. There's also a Capital Region Sponsor Scholar too. So if you're interested, Becky Daniels is, I think, a board member or a mentor in that organization. But we have these like situations where there are programs out there that help those who need the help. And even whether you think you need the help or you don't think you qualify, who cares? Like put your name in the hat, right? And like put your best foot forward. It's just, what's frustrating is that some people, some children, some students' best foot forward is still not even in the orbit of having a chance. Right. So and then what happened most recently is like they don't fill out the FAFSA. I mean, the FAFSA thing was like so like it sucks, right? When you're like, oh my God, to go to college, I gotta fill out this form, I gotta try and get paid for it. It's like it all just seems so struggle bus. And and then you have people like, students who are like, you know what? Yeah, deaf ears. Like, I ain't even gonna go to college. I'm not even gonna go attempt to do that because it's hard and it's not worth it. And, like just that, limited mindset. And so when they have encouragement, when they have mentorship, when they have someone like you really walking them through it, it doesn't have to be hard. Go find the experts to help you with what it is you're trying to do, and think big, right? Think big as big as you can, and then pull in all the resources, leverage all that network to get into college or to go get the job or to go, whatever. And so the other thing that I wanted you to point out is that so corporations hire you to bring all of this framework into their everyday workplace life. Yes. So tell us more about that and how people can get engaged with you.
Yeah, awesome. So I have a multi-pronged approach for organizations because we have to be honest that some organizations are a little further along in diversity, equity, and inclusion than others. And so when you hire me, you're bringing in someone who's going to create a comprehensive plan. I'm going to ask you a few questions. Are you looking for a 1 year turnaround? Are you looking for a 2 year, 5 year, 10 year? Would you like these initiatives to be woven into your everyday operations? Just the other day, I posted on LinkedIn that DEI is not a separate daily operation. It is daily operations. So I'm looking to get organizations to that transformational space. So I have a continuum that I kind of grade you on, and it can feel a little bit like, well, you're attacking me. But it's not. It's because we have to get to the root of the cultural change, right? We have to get to the root as to why you might be having barriers with retention, with recruitment, with policy, with systemic structures. We have to get to the root of that, and we have to have it at the forefront, because we could always look in someone else's backyard and say, look at all the bad things they're doing over there, but we never want to look in our own backyard. So I'm the type of, consultant that comes in, and we're going to put a mirror in our face, but we're going to do it in love, because I personally believe in righteousness and equity. And I think that real righteousness and equity requires love. It requires you to actually care about what it is that you're doing. And most importantly, with organizations, especially at the C-suite level or executive level, you find that because you are so inundated with like data and money and all these other things, you forget that you have a staff that's doing most of that frontline work. And if they're disgruntled, what you're looking for in terms of data and in terms of scaling and all of the different ways that we want our organization to be robust, if you have disgruntled workers, you're going to have a revolving door. And so that's where I do some HR strategy, and we start to look at data and see trends. How many people have you lost in the last year, in the last quarter? What does that look like? Did they do an exit strategy? Did they do an exit survey? What did they say on it? Because those are the things that give us like really what we need for organizations. So I come in just to give you I'll give you a pseudo, say I'm working, I put organizations in red, yellow, green. Say I'm working with the yellow organization, and this organization has mid-level DEI structures. And I say mid-level DEI structures would entail that they understand what those terms mean. They perhaps have a diversity office or a diversity officer or a director of some sort, someone who's providing some type of feedback. I would go in and I would first ask, well, is the president involved? Who hired me? I want to know who hired me. Who wants me here? Is it just HR? Is it just the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee? Is it the CEO? Is it the C-suite? Who is it that wants me here?
And do you find, I don't mean to cut you off, but
no worries, because it's very,
it's all just like so intriguing, and I want to make sure that people understand that this isn't like just a box checker, right? Like
no.
Oh, now I'm hearing about culture and diversity and DEI. Oh, I'm scared. I'm a CEO. I'm a leader of an organization, and I don't know. Maybe we're doing it. Maybe we're not doing it. Maybe we're doing it naturally. Maybe there are things that we do that we think are right that are wrong. So it's like, it doesn't have to be a scary, intimidating, like you're doing bad things. It could just be like, I don't see life through the same eyes as a person that looks different, that is the different age, that has a different educational background, financial background. So it's not, I think that the whole culture talk and DEI talk, it has been charged politically to be a race thing. And I want to make sure that people are crystal clear. There are so many other factors that you can address before you ever touch on race, right? We could solve all the other problems, and race could be solved with changes for other demographics. Okay, that's what I'm trying to put out there. And I think that because it has been just, people get scared when they hear cancel culture. Oh, you didn't do this right, and like, shame on you, let's burn you at the stake. What you do is you come in, you say, no need to burn the house down.
No.
You got a good solid situation. Like, you have the structure. Let's just sharpen the edges and make sure that they're all running in the right direction.
Yes. And, we're enhancing the experiences. That's what we're doing.
And you're like the guardrail, right? You're
Yes.
the and you're not an employee. You're coming in with like a fresh set of eyes. And I think that is obviously like uncomfortable for a lot of people. I think that it's normal to feel like a little like cagey about what might come out of it, you know? But
I mean, yes, but
somebody
you
like,
have to be open because you can get left behind in 2022 if you are not an organization that's looking to enhance the experiences of your workers. We are in a great migration. There are statistics showing that people are leaving positions that do not speak to their personal morale. And so if you're not providing spaces for people to be their authentic selves, obviously in a professional way where the work gets done, but they get to be themselves, you will have once again a revolving door, and you will be left behind as one of those organizations that's not forward thinking. I mean, we're moving into a space where technology is going to advance again and exponentially. I don't know if you've ever seen The Fifth Element, but we're moving into that age. We might have flying cars soon. You have to be ahead of the game. And with COVID-19 proposing such a threat to our small businesses, to, those who are, we've seen so many people are unemployment. We've seen so many people out of work, so many people leaving jobs because of, them not feeling safe in that space. And there's too many ways that we need to address DEI to say, oh, that makes me afraid, and just put it on the back burner. Right now, you have no choice. You have to move in the direction where you're providing safe spaces within your own organizations. And what happens is, if you are taking it seriously and you're okay functioning through the discomfort, your organization then becomes the leaders of tomorrow. Now other organizations are looking towards you. They are on your website. They see how forward thinking you are. They are trying to replicate the things that you're doing so that they can yield the same results in their organization. So it's more to it than just discomfort. You have to get through that. And you also have to put behind you the political polarization of what diversity, equity, and inclusion is right now.
It's like, listen, all the really, really smart, forward-thinking people who are ready to get to work are beyond this,
Mm-hmm,
so I just like when I hear there's a feather of some sort flying in my face. This is live. Liz is live, people.
We're live.
But so my point though is like, if you're just learning about culture or you're just learning about DEI, you are already behind, but that's okay because we have Charlene who's going to help you walk you through all this. And what I really love about your approach is that you don't have to be a big wig corporation with hundreds of thousands of employees to address DEI and do the right thing. You could be a small business with 10 employees or less, and you could be doing the things that you suggest implementing, or maybe you come on board and you're like, yo, you're doing a great job, keep at it, right? Like
exactly.
you scale, you're in green, so keep on doing all these things, and now maybe you can start talking about what it is you're doing and how easy it is and how fulfilling it has been to see all of this demonstrated in your workforce. There's no loss of employees, everyone feels happy, welcome, and it could be all good. Imagine that.
I know. Imagine a utopia where everyone is happy. Now, you won't please everyone. And I think I had an example where I had a consultation meeting with a board member from a local hospital. And they had 2 or 3 openings on their board coming up. And a conversation happened where they had looked around the table and there wasn't a diverse group of people. But diversity can mean multiple things. And this is where we need to be explicit. I'm also very open and honest about what we see because you want to bring it to the forefront. So this particular individual wanted to discuss the fact that they had no representation. It wasn't about diversity, it was about the representation. They did not reflect the community that they served. which is, I don't know if you saw the post where it was like, if your whole senior management looks like this and your frontline workers look like this, red flag. I don't know if you've seen that. That was like a social media trend in the past couple of weeks. And so they had to do some self-reflection, but the leaders on within that group, as you know, there's like the in crowd, and there are the people who have the most influence, and then there's some people who have silent influence. The influencers within that group were like, oh yeah, let's definitely, we can get some more representation, but let's add this one seat so we can bring this person who looks like us on. And so the person was very triggered by that, because that's not what we're saying. Like, if we're going to provide an opportunity for representation, it has to be authentic, right? It has to be where we only have 3 seats. And if we're going to get representation, we're going to let the best man win for those 3 seats. We're not going to make an additional seat for someone because that person makes us feel comfortable. And so, a lot of people are having these types of conversations, and you have to champion that. There's nothing wrong with that. I actually said, wow, I'm really proud of you guys for even sticking up and saying, hey, this doesn't look right. We might need some representation. That is a great start. So you don't have to, just because it's uncomfortable doesn't mean that it's bad, right? Just because you're talking about.
And then, like, I know I'm cutting you off again.
No worries.
Like the reason behind wanting proper representation also has to be authentic.
Yes.
Or you get into the situation you got in, where it's like, oh, we saw that we needed something, but we want that something on our own terms, not authentically wanting the representation. You know what I'm saying? They just want to cover their asses.
Yeah, well, I want to encourage anyone who, is watching this live now or comes across this later on, and you're having some conversations in your mind, and you could even be a person of color, you could be a white person, whatever it is, right? You could be a part of the LGBTQ plus community, whomever you are, you're having these internal debates with yourself.
You could be a mother. You could be
a mother, right? You could be an older individual, a younger individual just out of college, whomever you are, whatever your demographic is, because I'm not going to put you in a box. I'm just saying that this transcends any demographic, what I'm going to encourage you all right now. If you are having those internal debates, and you're saying to myself, man, I don't know who to go to, to have this type of conversation, or I don't have the language to describe the thoughts that I'm having, do your own research. I want to encourage you. There are Google Scholar is amazing. There's free scholarly articles that you can read that'll give you just a lens, so that you can use some of the terminology to describe what it is that you're looking for. You don't have to feel defeated in the moment. And even if you might be opposed to it, like, well, hey, I don't know, I like my job the way that it is. And I like the fact that I have all these people that just look like me and they make me feel comfortable. But I'm feeling challenged in this moment. Do a little bit of research, see why others want to have more representation. Perhaps you don't just stay in your own lens. You say, well, maybe I can try and see it from someone else's perspective, because the root of diversity, equity, and inclusion is understanding that others are having a human experience, and they're allowed to have an authentic human experience that is void of oppression, that is void of depression, that is void of systemic structures that ensure that they don't have any mobility in any area of their lives. We're talking about human beings. We're not talking about, inanimate objects. We're talking about humans with lives, who have to feed families, who have, their own emotional state. We have to get out of ourselves. So I encourage you to, 1, do the research, and 2, understand that when we're talking about diversity, equity, inclusion, we're literally talking about your own brothers and sisters. We're not talking about anyone who's a distant cousin. No, we're talking about your immediate family, your immediate family, your friends. What are we doing in this country to ensure that everyone is safe, everyone can thrive. People are not in survival mode, getting sick. I have a podcast coming up. It's called Policing Blackness, but I'm going to be talking about the term called John Henryism. And John Henryism is literally a study that people who endure high amounts of oppression have sicknesses. So the things that we see in society where they say, oh, people of color are prone to high blood pressure or diabetes, these are direct reflections and results of the oppressive nature of their lived experiences. So if you care about your brothers and sisters, you say, man, what can I do to ensure that I'm not providing, I'm not the one inflicting any of that harm or that pressure or that oppression on someone. You can do it. Just try to see it from someone else's perspective. And that's where, through my trainings, that's always going to be the crux of my trainings. Yes, anti-racism sounds like, oh my goodness. Whiteness sounds, oh my goodness. Yeah. Systemic oppression, oh my goodness. White supremacy, oh my gosh. Yeah, they're triggering. But what it really is look at this lens and see how you can challenge this lens. Look at this lens and see if you have you done anything with this lens? Have you participated in this lens? What can you do to change your participation in this lens? It's not to condemn, it's to educate and uplift.
Yeah, so. Yeah. You know, I have like two amazing, like just, well, I think everything is amazing. So, but I have like,
that's why I love you, Catherine.
Everything is awesome. Everything is awesome. So I just went to Key West with my Aunt Maggie. She just turned 70. And
Aunt Maggie, happy birthday.
And my mom, and, you know, like, just the nature of my family, we have lots of aunts that aren't blood related, but they're like our family. So it was like her and her sisters, and I say my cousins, and it was a mixed bag, right? So majority, there were 10 of us. There were 70-ish, right? Like between 65 and 72. Miss Marion.
They're still young, spring chickens.
Oh my God, were they ever? I mean, we went out every night. They partied as hard as, harder than I could.
Oh
anyway, and then my three cousins are like around my age, like, 35, 40. So just like this little situation, right? We went on vacation together, and I'm going into the situation like it's gonna be nice and relaxing. I'm not bringing my children. I'm not bringing my husband. We're just gonna lay around in bathing suits by the pool and just relax.
Pina colada.
They had other expectations, and let me tell you, we walked miles. We got on every tour there. I mean, we just did everything there's nothing that we didn't do when we were down there. And it's just taking that little social situation, a vacation with a mixed aged group of women only. It was the most incredible experience. I'm like, I don't know if I could ever go on vacation with people who are not that situation, that, what do you call this? Like subset of people. I came home feeling like I had just been layered, like a layer of the onion was torn off of me. And because I have this new perspective, and I was just, and it was because of the different group of people that I was around, that I just hadn't been around in a while. And again, we were around just each other without their husbands, without, any men. It was just us girls, and it was the most incredible experience. And that's what I think is interesting to kind of, you can compare that to what you're doing, right? You're just you're showing different perspectives and just assuring that everyone that comes into the room, that comes onto the team, that comes to apply for a job, gets the same shot and is becoming aware of all the different types of perspectives that exist out there. And then
just understanding the richness of different perspectives. It's very rich to be in a room. You think of rich wealth as like paper money, but wealth is knowledge as well. And so if I have different perspectives, I'm very wealthy in that. And organizations should see it that way. If I have multiple people, yes.
I just think it's so much fun to learn about different experience and perspectives. And I did not grow up in the Bahamas. I did not live in New York. I'm not from New York City. You're not from New Orleans.
I know.
we can shoot the shit and talk about all of this out of respect, and just a wondering of like where you come from, what your story is, and how I can now take a piece of that and weave it into my own story, you know. And I just think that's so fun and so cool. And anybody that doesn't want to be fun and cool, well, the hell with them. They'll be canceled.
You know, it's hard. That's another question that I get with organizations is like, well, what happens to, okay, it's not what happens. It's usually those who are supposed to be at these trainings do not show up. So what are we supposed to do? And this is where I probably could be a little bit, for lack of a better term, controversial. I feel like DEI in organizations should not be optional because it's not an extension of your work. It is your work, no matter what you're doing. You can be I had a professor tell me like, I teach biology. No, I teach chemistry. What do I need to know DEI for? And it's like, well, how about we go back to the inception of chemistry and how that field of study was created and who created this field of study in terms of how we, engage in it now. Like, and he just wasn't, I work with the periodic table. Like what could be oppressive about the periodic table? It's like nothing, but perhaps your approach to how you teach could be oppressive to some students, right? So it's like, I don't feel there should be a choice. And when I say this as delicately as possible. If you are coming on board in an organization, there are policies and procedures that you have to adhere to. And affirmative action is one of them. Sexual harassment is another one. And Title VII is our civil rights, act that passed, where we cannot discriminate against people. And under that law, we should be able to do training so that people are more equipped to do their work in the DEI world. And I'm not saying strip someone of their choice, and please do not misconstrue my words. I'm saying it as delicately as possible, just trying to implore you to understand how important it is to have DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion woven into all that you do. And the way that I approach that is I also use diversity, equity, and inclusion, those terms, as a framework. Diversity is what we see. Equity is how our policies play out, and inclusion is who's heard at the table, right? So it's very important for us to utilize that in everything that we do. If you are the, accountant that's just working with numbers, or if you're the facilities manager who oversees the grounds, everyone should have a clear DEI approach and understand that this shouldn't be something that I can opt out of. Because if I opt out, then I'm participating in the oppression of others, or I'm participating in the mistreatment of others. But I think that we're not, as a society, we haven't gotten to a space where we've 100% all gotten on board in terms of our systems, the systems that we engage in are perpetuating these oppressive structures. And everyone's not on board with that as of yet. Some people, look at critical race theory. People are arguing about teaching critical race theory in school because they believe that it's going to make Black folks feel like they're less than and white folks feel like they're slave masters. And it's like, that's not what's happening, but okay, right? So we already know that this stuff is polarized and people haven't subscribed to it yet, but we do live in a country, and America is a great country. Don't get me wrong. I won't curse the land. This is a great place. It's free. People, we look at us, we get to have our own businesses and thrive and do all amazing things. This is an amazing place. I would never curse this place. However, at its fundamentals, right? At its foundation, oppressive structures were utilized to create the systems that we engage in. And it's okay for us to know that and assess that and do our best to move away from that. It's just evolution, right? But some people haven't subscribed to that as of yet.
I think it's all like it's all just so triggering for people, and everyone is just feeling so overwhelmed right now, like with the everyday life. I mean, people have a hard time getting out of bed, you know, and so layer it on top of all these other things, and so many, in every direction, you're told you're not doing good enough. You're not doing all the things right, you know, like even our most evolved, advanced, successful people, they have that inner voice, right? You're talking about inner voice, and you're so lucky to have that inner voice. Call it what you will. It's you. That's lifting you up and encouraging you and supporting you, and you know, this positivity, this light around you, you know, and not everyone has that. And so I think that's the other part we all have to acknowledge, that it's a sensitive, uncomfortable, everybody brings all their shit, right? Everyone's bringing their own experiences, and just and in the other way of it, you know, like you can see a seemingly normal, privileged white man has struggle, you know, and he has all of his own like just shit that like life can be hard, you know. So
it can be.
What's so great about it though is that we do live in this amazing country. We all have the power and the authority to take control of it, right? And work together, collaborate, and partner on all this. And it's not you over me. It's literally equal.
Us.
Exactly. Like that. I think it's High School Musical. Like, we're all in this together. I'm going to stay in my lane of entrepreneurship and not try to ever.
And that thing.
Exactly. But it is easier said than done. But what's so amazing is that we literally can do this. We can actually make it happen. And it's through having these critical conversations that are gonna change the world, because people are hearing you, seeing you, that have never met you before, that have never heard of your name before, and they're picking up what you're putting down, and they're gonna give you a microphone, and obviously, like, we're using Palette as a means to, you know, spread the word, but also like we're using each other, and that's awesome.
Yes, absolutely. And the name of my company is Imana Borena, my shameless plug behind me.
Yes, Imana Borena. It's not shameless. Plug it, baby. Plug it. Give this woman money.
So if you're looking to learn a little bit more, our website is www.imanaborena.org. IMANABORENA. And so at Imana Borena, the reason why I bring this up, Catherine, is we don't condemn you at all, because whatever you're bringing to the table, like I said, is wealth, and we need that wealth to move these initiatives forward. We need your perspective, your perception, your thoughts, your ideas, some of your ideologies, not all of them. Some, because every thought we have is not a right thought. That's why I say that. But we need to come together as a community of professionals and individuals, and provide the proper feedback on what it would look like to create a more sustainable environment for organizations to not only hire, but retain different types of ideas, different types of talent, because you might be getting them through the door, but they're not staying. And so you have to address those things, right? And that's why when I come in and, I provide trainings or facilitation, or we do any type of strategy or design, my goal is to make sure that everyone has a say, and there is no right or wrong thing, right? So some people say to me, on an off, when we're just having a one-on-one, like this was my thought, but I didn't want to say it because I don't want to say the wrong thing. And it's like there's no dumb question. There's no wrong thing. You have to get it out so that we can try to move you and educate you in the right direction. And no one's perfect. DEI is ever evolving.
I am not perfect.
No, girl, neither am I. I thought I was perfect till I was 16. And then I learned very quickly that was, none of us are perfect, and we all make mistakes. And We need to humanize this diversity, equity, and inclusion experience. Like you said, it's not a checkbox. It's a lifelong journey. And you have to be willing to go on the journey and not feel condemned in the process if you make mistakes. You have to trust the process.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, like Imana Borena is all about righteousness and equity. And we just want people to be in spaces where they feel empowered. That's another part. As we develop the frameworks and the strategy and the design for organizations, we leave you with your plan and all of the tools that you need so you can do this on your own. Right? Like, yes, I would love to sign a 10-year contract with you and secure my future, but that's not realistic. We want you to be able to do this work on your own and champion it on your own and model it for other organizations so that it spreads and permeates throughout our country, and people understand that, like, okay, there is a way to do it and there's a way to do it where it works. Now, I can't give you all my, I'm not going to give you all my free ideas.
Oh,
but just know
you can't do all that. People have to call you, or they have
hey, you're gonna have to call me.
You've been doing some of these trainings through Palette and workshops,
yes,
programs.
I
and
will.
That's what it's all about. You have, this is your community just as much as it's mine.
I'm so thankful for this. You don't even understand.
Oh, stop it. This is all part of it, right? Like, why do you feel so grateful when this is like just you're right, this is your space, this is your community, you're part of it. So now we work together, we keep on moving forward. And that shouldn't be like, oh my gosh, like I didn't help you, you helped yourself. And I think that's what it's all about. And helping each other and being like, I'm never going to be a DEI expert. I'm not trained, I'm not educated. It's not that it's not my passion, but it's like, this is your lane. Why would I go out and try to, do this when I can have you come on board and just give you the mic and give you the stage and you do you, and I can just champion you doing what your best use of time and energy is.
I think my thank you to you is that you created an environment like Palette. You went with your God-given talent. You didn't bury it, right? You multiplied it. And because you multiplied it, other people are able to partake. And I think that we should be telling each other this, right? Like, I'm giving you your flowers today. I'm not going to wait till you pass to give you your flowers, like this is an amazing thing that you're doing. And I think that, that's what the thank you is. Like, thank you for the opportunity to network with people. Thank you for the opportunity to go get a coffee and go into a workspace, Thank you for the vision that you were able to bring forth. And, it's just very special. It's a very special thing. And I want to, like I said, give you your flowers today.
Thank you. I love flowers, virtual, imaginary. It's all about, the good energy you put. I can feel it. I can feel it through the screens. So
I'm glad.
I'm glad. You again in real life. And yes. I'm just so happy to have you part of what we're doing here. And yeah, I mean, I'll share all your, your website and stuff in the comments. And awesome. I implore anybody that anything resonate with you with this conversation to reach out to Charlene or myself. Let's get coffee. Let's talk it all out. I mean, that's what it takes. Yes. It takes, getting to know the situation, right?
Yes, it does.
Well, thank you so much for being here for it. And I will see you again really, really soon. We are having a holiday luau party, which I think you need to be at. And
I'll be there.
Yeah. All right, lady. It was great chatting with you.
Yes.
Keep on keeping on.
You too. Be blessed.
Bye.
Bye.